are recording now, so you can go ahead whenever you're ready, Hank.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the first webinar in the series of the MetroAg MOOC. This is an experiment and a new experience probably for most of you. It certainly is for me. This is the first time in my life ever of doing a presentation or a lecture in this mode, so I have to get used to it. Be prepared for some flaws then, and also bear in mind, since this is an experiment, that we really would love your feedback on what's going on here. Don't hesitate to type in whatever remarks you have, and we will try to respond to this. Okay, now let's see if the technology functions. Yes. Here we have the next slide. Basically this slide states that there is a copyright here, and the copyright means that whatever you will hear today, this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are on this planet, you can use and reuse as long as you state that this was the source that it's stemming from. Okay, after these technicalities, this is me. The voice you are hearing belongs to this face. My name is Henk van Laterstein. At present I'm sitting in my living room here in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and next to me is my friend and colleague Sander Mager. The relations today are that he will be looking at what you are typing in the chat box and give me a signal when there is something I really should respond to. And well, it's my job to lead you through the presentation, and hopefully we'll get this done within about 45 minutes or so. So there will be another 10 to 15 minutes to have a sort of conversation with everybody of you. Okay, now you know who is behind the microphone and who is helping out. We start with the content of this first week. And this is what we try to do today. There are 6 steps on the stairs today. We're going to start with what is the challenge of this whole MetroAg thing. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what's behind that. It's all about values and the fact that most of these values are competing. Then MetroAg is presented as one way of dealing with it, and we will come to a sort of operational approach of this way of working. And the whole idea of MetroAg is that there is an entrepreneur or a group of entrepreneurs that is willing and able to start innovate the way in which we do agriculture and related activities. And we'll end up with a number of examples, and hopefully those examples will inspire you in your own situations to come up with additional info or start doing stuff, because that is what this whole MetroAg MOOC course is all about. We give you some information, and we hope to get a lot of feedback from you people, because the only way in which this will work is that we start collaborating in different regions of the world and with different groups of people to make a difference here. Okay, the challenge. It all starts with the fact that we as humans have a sort of flaw in our system. We tend to act and think in a linear mode. This means that we understand when things double, but we are not very good at understanding how an exponential function works, and that this is what this quote is all about. And if you look at this next graph, now this is an exponential function. This is the development of the population on our globe. Most of you will be familiar with this graph already. We are at present with more than 7 billion people on the planet, whereas for a very, very long time before this, these numbers were much, much lower. And we are now in a period of transition. And we need to understand that this transition has an effect on all aspects of life and all aspects of humanity, and one of those aspects is agriculture, and is the way in which we try to feed our planet and do other agricultural productions. And this is what MetroAg is all about. Now we are, as I said, at this point in time with 7 billion. UN scenarios show us that by 2050 we will be with more than 9 billion people. So it is really an exponential thing here. And it's all about this. We people are a sort of social animal. Apparently we feel comfortable when we are in large groups, and we feel comfortable in such a way that we are expanding more and more. And not only that, we tend to flock together. Not only at festivals that this picture is showing you, but in general. This is what's happening. We used to have a sort of division on our planet that most people were living in rural areas and only a small proportion was living in cities. Now this is changing, and since 2007 more than half of the global population is living in cities, and this is expanding. So again, by the year 2050 we will not only be with more than 9 billion people, but more than 70% of those people will be living in cities. Now that is a dramatically different situation than everything we have ever known before. And there's even more going on. These cities are also changing. And we are now talking about mega cities, so cities with more than 10 million inhabitants. This is what you get when you do a live performance. My home telephone is ringing. Please take no note from that. It will stop in a few minutes, or in a minute, I hope. There we go. So these mega cities are really the thing of the future, and you see them popping up all around the globe. Most prominently in China. Only this morning I heard that the largest city in China now counts for what is over 34 million inhabitants in one city. So this is really a mega city. What we have been looking at is that this tendency of becoming a sort of urbanized world leads to a division of different types of regions. In this diagram here, we plotted these regions using two dimensions. On the horizontal axis you see the land suited for agriculture, and on the vertical axis you see the population in a region, we call them super regions, that has a radius of about 300 kilometers. If you do that, you can plot the different regions in the world in these four quadrants, and you notice something interesting. The regions that we are interested mostly in are the regions in the top right hand corner of this graph. That's what we call the MetroAg areas. Here we have a huge population, but there's also enough space for doing agricultural production, and it needs to be combined. Now what's happening at present is this. The agricultural areas where most of our food and other resources are coming from are becoming more crowded also. So they are sort of shifting into this realm of MetroAg areas. And not only that, the MetroAg areas, a lot of land use is a sort of competitive type of land use, and instead of using it for functions related to agriculture, they shift to functions related to urban regions. So what's happening here is that these MetroAg areas are functioning as a sort of pivotal point of change. They attract, as it were, the agricultural areas and shift them into MetroAg areas, and when the population expands, it sort of drives out agriculture. Now this is something that we in our country here in the Netherlands, in Northwest Europe, are experiencing now for the last decades or so. And this is precisely what puts a lot of pressure on agriculture, and what makes the whole discussion on where to develop and how to do it really prominent in our part of the world. And we think that this experience, it's not only our experience, it's shared now in different places around the globe, this is the type of experience we need to exchange our views on, and that will probably help us to go forward and improve on the situation. As I said, these cities are not only concentrated in Europe. In this graph you see that these MetroAg areas are all around the globe, and they are expanding. So this is a glimpse of what is going to happen for the next 20 or 30 years or so. Now the point is that we need to address this whole challenge, as the FAO and UN are calling it, the challenge to feed this expanding population by doubling the agricultural production, while at the same time reducing the use of limited inputs. So this is sort of double challenge, or a ×4 challenge to be precise, because if you double your production and you halve your inputs, then the effort, or the redesign effort, is that the efficiency should go up at least 4 times. Now, how can we do that? I've put this picture on of a cloud forest in Gomera as an example how nature deals with that. This is a very green forest on a very dry island, and the reason why this forest is green is that it has developed a system of catching moisture out of the air and use that as a source of water for the whole forest. So this is a very, very efficient way of dealing with resources. Now, the way in which we organized our agricultural production mostly is precisely the other way around. We use a lot of resources, and we do it, to be honest, in a pretty sloppy fashion. So we use a lot of water for producing a minimal amount of produce. To change that is the whole idea of metropolitan agriculture. How can we organize efficiency in such a way that we can deal with a challenge? Well, this has to be done in a world that is governed by what you might call competing values. And to stretch it a little, I took this quote from the movie Wall Street. Michael Douglas, the sort of prototype person doing all sorts of tricks for organizing his income, defends this by saying that his value set is a right value set. His greed is the right driver to do stuff. It works and it helps him. Now, this is not only the case with Gordon Gekko in the movie Wall Street, but if we are honest, it is valid for every one of us. Everybody is driven by these types of values. But these values differ, and they differ according to in what kind of, you might say, subculture you are finding yourself in. And to exemplify this, I have 4 examples. If you are in a business community, you're doing a business, the thing that you really want to organize for yourself is continuity, because your business needs to go on. And in order for continuity to happen, you need to organize profit or black figures, or see to it that you have a tangible position on the market. Now, if you are in government, the currency, you might call it, is not so much continuity, but it is your power position. If you are in government or in a governmental organization, you need to have some sort of credibility, and credibility is fueled by your power. Now, if you're in an academic community, you're a researcher, again, the the whole situation changes. Your driver there is recognition. As a researcher, you are recognized when your colleagues think that you are doing a great job. And when you do that, your position is safe. And if you are part of a societal group, then what you need to organize is that your idea or your point will be on the public agenda. It needs to be there. These different values drive the actions of these different groups. Now this you might say are all values related to different types of what you might call profit values. If we shift to the whole notion of sustainable development, and I make a sort of jump here, but it would take too far to also take the whole notion of sustainable development in this introductory lesson, but maybe we can get back to that on another occasion. Sustainable development not only deals with the different notions of profit, it also deals with different value sets related to people values and planet values. The word here is the triple P bottom line. I'm sure that most of you have heard of it, and the triple P bottom line says that if you really want to have a development that is sustainable, you need to have these values in place and well balanced. Now the situation in real life is that most of the time these values are in conflict with each other and are competing. And this is also the case in our agricultural community. Now that we need to do a technical stuff, because I want to show you a small film clip from the movie Food Inc. Just have a look at it and we'll get back to you in 1 minute.
This curtain that's dropped between us and where our food is coming from. The industry doesn't want you to know the truth about what you're eating, because if you knew, you might not want to eat it.
If you follow the food chain back from those shrink-wrapped packages of meat, you find a very different reality. The reality is a factory. It's not a farm, it's a factory. That meat is being processed by huge multinational corporations that have very little to do with ranches and farmers.
Now our food is coming from enormous assembly lines where the animals and the workers are being abused. And the food has become much more dangerous in ways that are being deliberately hidden from us.
You've got a small group of multinational corporations who control the entire food system. From seed to the supermarket, they're gaining control of food.
This isn't just about what we're eating. This is about what we're allowed to say, what we're allowed to know. It's not just our health that's at risk.
The companies don't want farmers talking. They don't want this story told.
Okay. If you haven't had the chance to see the full film, Food Inc., please do, because it is a very interesting film and you can learn a lot from this film. The point I want to put from this short clip is the situation in this film is presented as a polarized situation. Wait a second, this one. In the film, in the short clip, we heard about corporate agriculture as one way of doing things, and it is, especially in this film, it is posed, on the other side of the field of organic agriculture. But not only that, in the film, but also if you take a look at the newspapers, there are other ideologies that claim that they know where to go and how to solve the situation. So we talk about different modes of doing sustainable agriculture, or high-touch agriculture where more people values are involved, or urban agriculture where you use, urban conditions to really start doing a social type of agriculture in an urban environment. Or well, we can go on for a long time with these different ideologies. The point I want to make here is that these ideologies are not cooperating and try to find a new solution to our problem, but this is what's happening. Everybody states that they know how to deal with all the problems that are in front of us, and as a result we have a big clash of ideas, and the clash of ideas leads to this situation. This what happened to me when I was on a holiday in France. We were driving in a beautiful road, but then suddenly this sign said that this was the end of the road. Well, if we go on fighting with each other on how to deal with the problem and don't act, then we will be at the end of the road. Now this is the situation that needs to be transformed, and this is precisely where the whole idea of MetroAg steps in. This brings us to the third part. Okay, how do you do that then? Well, the way to go forward, in our opinion, is we have made a lot of mistakes, and we are still making mistakes, and we will be making mistakes in the future also. But the whole point of making mistakes is that you need to learn from them. I don't know if you have seen the film Batman Begins. I'm not a sort of film buff, but most of these films catch my attention when something of interest is said. And in this film, Master Bruce, the young Batman, asked to his butler, why do we fall? And then the butler says, well, the only reason why you're falling is that you have to pick yourself up and learn. And that is precisely what we need to do here. So MetroAg is about how can we learn from the mistakes we've made, and how can we improve and innovate on them and start making things better. Again, a very short film clip to give you a feel of what we're talking about.
Agriculture stands at the crossroads, going on the old way, or working towards a sustainable future. This faces us all with a huge challenge. How can we meet modern society's demand for food in a responsible manner? The answer is a new visionary approach, metropolitan agriculture. An approach that solves the food issue and at the same time satisfies the requirement of the metropolitan consumer. A consumer who chooses sustainability, health and the experience of nature, and who has a conscious approach to energy consumption and waste. And a consumer who wants safe, responsible and varied food. What is metropolitan agriculture? In a nutshell, innovative agricultural activities that take place in a metropolitan environment, explicitly satisfy the varied consumer demands in the regions concerned, and make ingenious use of the characteristics of the urban landscape. Transforming the system of agro-production from an obstacle into one of the motors of the urban environment. No one can achieve this in isolation. Companies and other stakeholders, such as knowledge institutes, social organizations and governments, jointly create value by linking people, profit and planet. This calls for a radical revolution in a situation where established institutions are still displaying resistance. New connective leadership and passionate coalitions are essential. This can be achieved if people collaborate. Collaborate to bring about the required innovation of agro-production.
Okay, I just saw that Rajesh I think you pronounce your name like this. You didn't hear the sound in the video. Well, not to worry, the video is on the website, so you can always go back there and have a look at it. For the time being, let's move on, and hopefully in the rest of the explanation the content of the clip also will become clear. Metropolitan agriculture is an effort, metropolitan agriculture is an effort to what you might call connect the dots and see to it that these different value sets of profit, planet and people really start work together. So instead of organizing all your energy in fighting, the ideology that is not yours, we think you should use this energy to turn the dynamics around and start connecting with everybody that wants to work together with you. And you have to accept the fact that values, different values, will always remain. Don't try to change values of people, because that's what religion is all about, and that didn't bring us the best of all worlds also. Our point is that if you accept the fact and respect the fact that there are different values, you can start working with it and organize different modes of doing agricultural production in a metropolitan region that is of value for more than just one group. And it also leads to a situation of continuous improvement. Now, the characteristics of this notion of metropolitan agriculture, to give some feel for it, is in this table. In the current situation, agriculture is mostly driven by cost efficiency. Our notion is that metropolitan agriculture should be driven by what you might call triple P efficiency. So not only cost and profit, but also people values and planet values. And we will show to you in a few examples in a short while that this is really feasible. Current agriculture leads to uniformity because, we work along one model, and this one model should apply to everybody. The whole notion of metropolitan agriculture is that we need to respect and even celebrate the diversity that's around and make use of it. Current agriculture is a separated activity from the urban society. It's done in remote areas, and when it's done in the vicinity of a city, it's done in isolated complexes. Our idea is that there is much more room for integration of agricultural activities into an urban society. And in the current situation, agriculture develops through a process of optimization, so everything has to be as efficient as possible given the current situation, whereas metropolitan agriculture is driven by redesign and innovation. Start rethinking the way in which you're doing things and improve on that. There is room enough for this diversity, and to have a short feel for it, this graph shows you what at current already agricultural production is leading to. All sorts of different products and services and all sorts of different scales and areas where agriculture can be of use, of different uses you might say, for the way in which we have organized ourselves. So agriculture is not just a farmer producing food, but it is agricultural entrepreneurs producing all sorts of different goods and services. And this tree with all these different Christmas ornaments in it is only expanding. Every day new ideas are developing and new products are developing. This next slide I'm going to skip for now. You can read it back, but we will get back to this in the next presentations. For now, if I look at the time, it would take too far, and we don't need it for the rest of what we want to discuss today. This was the third step. So what is the whole logic of metropolitan agriculture? And I want to step to the next level and say, okay, if this is what we want to do, how do you do it then? Well, the starting point is, as this quote says, that you don't start with the way in which the operation is visualized or is set up at this point in time, but start with organizing a common goal, and from that common goal try to develop different ways of achieving that goal. Okay, how does that work? We have found in our experience in a 6-year program where we experimented with these types of developments, that there are at least 3 different innovation strategies that you can follow. And probably there are even more, but for the time being, these 3 strategies worked for us. The first of the 3 is sustainable intensification. This is where you start from the profit angle and try to connect to the other 2 value sets. The second is what we call sustainable revaluation. Here you start at planet values and try to connect them to the other 2. And the third one is what we call sustainable diversification. And here you start with different values related to what people think of interest, and start building from that side. I'll get back to this division in a short while, but first I want to show you, well, sorry, this all sounds very logical. It sounds like, okay, hey, these values are there, you can connect them, you can innovate, so why don't you go out and do it? Well, there are some obstacles that prevent us from doing precisely this, and prevent the agricultural sector from doing that. The first one is this: we are living in a competitive world, so we are most of the day working in a company or in an academic community or in a societal organization, competing for attention, competing for fund, competing for what have you. When you are competing, you are not very interested in thinking about what you are doing and why you are doing it, and try to redesign what you do. The second obstacle is this one: complacency. If you are a sea lion and you're living on Pier 13 in San Francisco, this is where this picture was taken, the tourist will feed you. So what you do is you lie on your back and you just wait for the next meal to arrive, instead of what sea lions normally do, go out and hunt for it. This is transferable to a lot of situations where things are going very well. If you're going very well in a business, why should you bother about, again, thinking of what you are doing and why you are doing it in the way you are doing it? And the third obstacle is complexity. If the situation is difficult, if innovation means that you have to rethink everything that you are doing, you readily get into a situation where people just, sign off and say, this is too complicated for me. I rather stick to my ordinary routine because I understand that, and if I follow that lines, I will get what I really need in life, and that's it. Okay, but if we want to overcome this, what do we need then? This is the 5th part of this introduction. We think what we need is what we call a new agricultural entrepreneur, and that is a person or a group of people that really bring together these different values and organize more than just profit. As Henry Ford apparently already said, if you're only aiming for profit, you're a pathetic type of organization. Now, Henry Ford is not the most speaking example of a person that does more than organizing profit, but apparently he sold a light. So what does it need? To give you a feel for the complexity and the potential. If you look at farming, and you look at the history of farming, in a sort of schematic form, you might visualize it in these three graphs. Farming started out as a craft. A subsistence farmer was a craftsman that organized food for himself and his family. Point. That's it. Over time, agriculture turned into a profession. So the craftsman developed into a professional agricultural entrepreneur, a producer. And this agricultural producer worked in a chain. He gets inputs, so he buys seeds, he buys fertilizers, he buys land, he buys labor or whatever he needs, and he produces the products that he can sell on the market. Now in the current situation, this chain is still there. You can see it on the right hand side. But agriculture, especially in a metropolitan region where everybody is living close to each other, is also part of a network. The farmer has neighbors, and the neighbors have an idea of his mode of production. The farmer does not only produces products, but he organizes his production, and people around the farm can develop all sorts of opinions or ideas about the ways in which he is doing things. From a positive point of view, farmers are organizing our landscape and are, especially in the urbanized areas, mostly seen as the preservers of green space. So a farmer in our new situation has much more functionality than the professional agricultural producer in this production chain. Now if you keep in mind this network diagram on the right hand side of this graph, then hopefully the three innovation strategies I just mentioned become a little bit more transparent, because if you are in a situation where you do agricultural production but there are ways of improving your efficiency, then you are in what here is the first bullet, in an innovation strategy of sustainable intensification. So you start with your business efficiency, where you're good at, and you expand that professional attitude towards resource use efficiency. And so you not only are efficient in terms of money-wise, but you're also efficient in terms of using energy or water or other resources. And if you want to have a valuable position within the society that you're operating, you're also diminishing your impact. So you have a good, what you might say, a good position in terms of people values that are also related to agricultural production. Now the second way of improving or innovating is that you do not start with from the profit side, but you start with recognizing the fact that there are environmental values attached to agricultural production. You organize appreciation for these environmental values, and you develop them into a market proposition. This is what we call sustainable revaluation, and there will be an example in a 2 minutes or so to explain what we are really meaning by this. And the third one is called sustainable diversification. Again, here start from another angle. Here start with new or emerging needs of consumers in terms of new products or services. Connect those new needs to existing agriculture activities and try to fit that in with environmental constraints. And again, the result of all these three strategies, that instead of optimizing your profit, people or planet value, you are combining the three and come up with a solution that's better than the thing you were doing before. Okay, this was the sort of outline. The last part of this introduction is about examples. What does it lead to then, and how does it look like? The first set of examples is about sustainable intensification, and the examples I'll present to you here, you can all read them back in the book that is part of the package of this course. These are our examples, but hopefully there are a lot more examples in your experience, and hopefully you can give those examples and put them up so we can expand on the set of examples that can inspire other people to start acting. The three examples in our case on sustainable intensification are all on intensification, but on very different scales and in very different situations. The first one, the Biopark Den Neuze project, was about combining industry with greenhouse farming, and as a result you get a very energy efficient greenhouse system that also helps to close the, you might say, production and energy and resource cycles in an industrial region. The second example was more an idea or project generation that did not come to a real execution yet, but who knows, in a short on a short term. This was the development of an agro production park, where a number of different types of agricultural production are combined in such a way that resource use is very efficient. And the third one, it's a Dutch word, there is hardly a translation for it. It's called koelanderij, so that's in English a sort of mixture between a cow farm and organizing a sort of estate. Is an effort to combine dairy farming with landscape preservation, something that is, in our country at least, of value to a lot of people in this part of the world. The fourth one is new mixed farm. New mixed farm because the whole idea of a mixed farm is very old, of course. All farms used to be mixed, but at present most of the farms are specialized, and as a result they do one thing very good, and for the rest they produce waste material and leftovers. Now in the old mixed farm there wasn't any waste, there weren't any leftover, everything was used. And we, together with a number of agricultural entrepreneurs and farmers, we have developed this new mixed farm that uses these old ideas of using everything on the farm in a new way. And at present this farm is being built. The second set of examples is about revaluation. This was starting with values attached to values attached to people aspects. There are three examples again in the book: landmarkt, mijnboer, and rondeel. Three Dutch words. Again, you not only learn something about agriculture here, but you're expanding your language skills as well. Landmarkt is a new type of retail service where you do not only sell the agricultural products, but you also sell what you might call authenticity and relationship to how things are being produced. Now this is developing in all sorts of retail formulas. Also the larger retail groups are doing this, but the special thing about Landmarkt was that it is really a combination of local producers organizing their own retail chain. The first outlet is now in operation, and two more are being built as we speak. Second example is My Farmer. This is again a sort of, what is it, agricultural trade chain, where not just profit is being used as a driver, but this is much more on traceability, quality, and consumer satisfaction. This formula was, well, you might say it was successful because it's taken up by a larger trade organization now. On the other end, the original idea was to set it up as an alternative next to this trade organization, but things developed a little bit differently. We will come back to this example in one of the next presentations. The third one is called rondel or roundel. This is a new way of doing egg production, where the whole chain of egg production is really innovated. So the whole idea is that animal welfare here is a leading design criterion, not only for the stable but for the whole production, packaging and selling of the eggs. And this turns out to be a huge success, at least in our country. The third set of examples is about sustainable diversification, and this is the innovation strategy where you connect to different markets. You connect to different markets, products and services that people want to get provided, and combine that to existing agriculture activities. Two examples here. The first is called Landzijde. This is a business set up around about 150 small farmers around the city of Amsterdam. And next to the fact that there are still operational farms, they now provide daycare for different types of patients, and they do it in a very professional way. So it is a competing care arrangement in a care market, next to the fact that from an operational agricultural point of view, there are still operational farms that produce products that are sold on the market. And the last example, Northern Frisian Woods. That's a region in our country where farmers started working together, about 400 of them, and they started to organize themselves about the special traits and the special landscape traits and the special type of products that they can produce there, and use that in 3 different types of new product market combinations to come up with a new sustainable business idea that helps them forward. If they would have stuck to their original business, which is dairy farming, most of them would have been out of business now, but because they have set up these add-on activities, they are still operational. Well, this was the kickoff content. And of course, this course is not about you just listening to me, but it is about you speaking or chatting and discussing with each other. That is why we have provided you with an assignment for this first week, and it was already on the discussion forum, but to help you, it's on the presentation as well. And the question to you is, can you describe a project in your own area of expertise or interest, or maybe even the place where you live, or the part of the world where you're from, that relates to this whole idea of metropolitan agriculture that we try to explain to you in this webinar. So this could be an ongoing project, but it also can be a project that you plan to implement in the future, or maybe even an idea that is generating at this very point in time. We really would like you, if possible, to give a description of what would be the primary audience of this project, and of course this relates back to what we have been discussing about the different values that are related to the project and how they can start working together. What then will be the key members of the people that will execute this idea or this project, and how is the formulation of the goal then of this project, so that everybody can connect to what you're doing here. Well, we hope that this assignment is clear to you, and we also of course hope that the presentation helps you in coming up with ideas. And for now, this is all that we want to send out from our part to you. And if I look at the clock, We were planning for another hour, so there are 10 more minutes that we can use if there are any questions that you really want to bring forward now and discuss with us or with other participants. Okay, there is a question here put on the chat channel by Luis Cruz, saying that he doesn't want to be argumentative or rude. Well, you aren't, Luis, no way. And your question is, given the current economic realities, how can we implement these things without currency and without government? Well, this is not what we proposed here. We didn't say that you need to develop new ideas without currencies. What I try to explain is that, and I use the word currency when we were talking about values, that different people have different value sets, and these value sets drive your actions, and in that sense I use the word currency. So for a business person, currency in the terms of money is relevant, but for somebody from the academic community, currency in terms of peer recognition is of essence. We've experienced that in our own practice when we started, for instance, developing the Rondale business. This now has led to a successful business, but when we started, there were people from the academia that had developed the original idea, and because it was their idea, they didn't want to change the idea or have people from other spheres fiddle and fit with it to become a more what you might call business oriented model. So this led to a confrontation on one hand of business people needing to mold the idea into something marketable, and the original creators of the idea that wanted to stick to the original idea because that was something they had published and that was something they could develop their credibility on. So I think you're right. We need currency in different terms, but if you mean with currency money, we need money also. If we develop a new innovation within this whole notion of metropolitan agriculture, one of the sustainability aspect, of course, is the fact that there needs to be an economic profit attached to the business. If there isn't, then the business will be out of business within a very short time span. So we need currency, we need money, we need business people, and yes, we need government also, especially if we start innovating. Our experience is that without government participation in a project, it's going to become very, very difficult. Because if you innovate, you change your way of doing stuff, and this leads to a situation that ordinary regulatory schemes do not apply. So you need local or provincial or state level people from government that help you organize innovation space for that. The question from Scott. Okay, yes, Scott. Scott puts up the question that there are pockets now that are working on MetroAg, but he is impatient because his question is what will be the time span before MetroAg to become mainstream? Well, that depends on you, basically. And with you, I don't mean you, Scott, but I mean you, everybody. And that is precisely the reason why we set up this Metro MOOC in the first place. When we started our experiments in our country, we related to a number of people in different cities around the world, and we all came to the conclusion that we needed to set up some sort of support structure that helped us to exchange experience and exchange ideas. So the whole idea is that you have local innovations and local actions and global learning. So an exchange of ideas and an exchange of experiences. That's really what is our idea of how this thing can become mainstream. It is all about numbers, it is all about action of people, and it is all about doing stuff together. Once you start doing that, then this will spread hopefully like a virus, and within a short time span it will be perfectly possible to have this type of development becoming more mainstream than the ordinary way of doing stuff and just optimizing and organizing profit. By the way, if you look at let's call them enlightened larger companies, this is the type of development that you can see on many more pockets than just within the sphere of MetroAg. There's more going on than just that. I see that Rick Eweg, a former colleague of ours in Transforum, just put on the chat channel that you can have a look at all the projects on the website of our former organization. It's down there, the link is there. So if you really want to know more about the specific of a project, I would encourage you to go over to this website and just have a peek. Okay, there are a few more minutes left. Rajesh, as with the land shortage all around, with small spaces all around in the cities like 1,000 or 2,000 square feet, can we create the main supply like growing wheat or bran? Well, there you have a point. At present, within, let's call them the agricultural operations within city limits, we are not talking about commodity production, but we're talking about vegetable production or herbs or fruits. So mostly the more high value added type of stuff. Commodity production still takes place in larger areas on an in an efficient way, and I think this will stick with us because there is at present no way of doing grain production on a larger scale within a metropolitan region in an efficient way. So for the time being, you're right, and that's why we use this word MetroAg to sort of distinguish it from what you still can call rural ag. And rural ag is much more about large-scale commodity production, like you have in, you know, the largest states in the United States and larger parts of the Brazilian region that has a total different type of doing stuff. Okay, is there anything that we need to discuss now? Correct. I see that Kearney reacts to what we just said, that this feeds in well into the idea of cooperation. That's correct. We can do a lot of stuff within MetroAg, but we also need you know, the large commodity producers to do their bit. So you can do on a local scale what can be done local, but you need to organize staple production or commodity production differently. Okay, our time is up. I don't know how it is with you. This was an experiment for you and for me. I have to be honest, when I started I was a bit anxious. Now that we are near the end of this presentation, I'm feeling much more comfortable with my headset and the way of talking to you in this mode. Let's keep up the discussion. Please look at the assignment from this week. Put your ideas on the forum and put it in the right place. That's not that difficult, because there is this part of the forum that says week 1 assignment. Put your ideas in there and start responding to each other, and let's develop on what everybody already has, and let's organize that the whole thing becomes more than the sum of the parts. Thank you for listening to this first webinar in the MOOC course, and I hope to see you. Sorry, again, I need to do this. This is a sort of copyright thing. Again, we stole some pictures, and here you can see who we did steal them from. But this is what I wanted to show you. Thank you for attention. See you or hear you next week, and hopefully we have a lot of conversation going on over the internet between now and next week. See you then.